Hey y'all, this is Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey Kat. And this is the Fake Ass Book Club. Wait, can we both say it or no?
You guys, welcome back to the Fake Ass Book Club. This is your girl Moni.
And I'm Kat.
Hey, Kat.
Hey, Moni. It's great to see you.
I know it is great. This is awesome. I'm glad to be back for another week. You guys, we made it, and hopefully you made it back with us too. And we have a really cool book this week. I'm excited to talk about it. So I was looking around and I came across a book. I'm glad my mom died by Jeanette McCurdy. I was like, what is this? And when I took a closer look, I was like, oh, okay, yes, I know her. I never knew her name, but she is the actress that played Sam in iCarly and also for Sam and Cat. So for those of you who aren't familiar, it was like a kids Nickelodeon show. I think I was too old to watch it, but like I know kids who've watched it. Like my kids even watched it. And it's been in syndication now for years. So most people, if you have kids or you're kid adjacent, you've probably heard of this show. Are you familiar with this?
Wildly. I'm actually a fan myself. Like, of course, it was like mostly watching it with my kids, but like I would seriously like I have a favorite episode of iCarly.
First of all,
And then the spinoff Victorious, which was because they had a crossover episode. And then Sam and Cat, like genuinely enjoyed watching that show.
oh my gosh. Well, there you have it, folks.
but,
It's popular, okay?
but I'm
So,
childish.
there's nothing wrong with it. I feel like when I've seen it, I can see the allure. You know, Sam's or the character Sam was definitely iconic. You know what I mean? Like
She
she
was
had her little
feisty.
stuff.
And there weren't
Definitely.
like a lot of characters like her on TV. Like, she'd been to Juvie.
Oh shit.
Like you didn't have a lot of characters like that on, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel and stuff like that. Like she
She was
was
a
a
little
little
rough around the
raw.
edges. I
A
like
little
it.
bit, but she was hard to go. Like you could depend on Sam. Sam wasn't going.
She wasn't gonna lead you astray.
No, she was that girl. So I really, really enjoyed the show. And end of sentence.
Okay. That's what's up. Well, on that note, friend, I'm just gonna do a quick little intro for her book. Okay, so a heartbreaking and hilarious memoir by iCarly and Sam and Cat star Jeanette McCurdy about her struggles as a former child actor, including eating disorders, addiction, and a complicated relationship with her overbearing mother. This story lets us know how she retook control of her life. So, boom, there you have it. So, I just feel like I should throw this out here to you guys. Trigger warning, because this book does talk about a lot of emotional and physical mental abuse, abusive parents, eating disorders, in great detail. Um, Sexual abuse, illness, death, like, all the heavy hitters. So if you're sensitive to that, also, we're going to spoil the shit out of this book. So if you don't want to know what happens in this book, then you should probably, wait till you've read it to enjoy this episode. So, with that, you guys, let's move into the dedication. Hands over your hearts, everybody. As always, we want to thank our listeners for being here. Thank you guys. We appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see our illustrious faces right now. You're welcome. And I personally wanted to dedicate this episode to the air in my lungs, okay? It has never let me down so far, and I appreciate it being there. It gets me around, gets me where I'm going. So just appreciative to be taking in breath and living and breathing, friend. What about you?
It's funny that you said that because that kind of goes. I mean, yes, and your dedication because it goes into my dedication, which was going to be yoga.
Oh,
which is finding your breath. One thing I did do on this action-packed weekend was yoga at Newfields with two of the OG members of the Real Ass Book Club we were in.
Nice.
And we got to breathe and stretch in the gardens. And it was very lovely and very restorative, and was like, okay, we need to do this more often. So very much shout out to all the yoga girls and boys and everyone. Because that when finding that breath, I think it did It helped me that day. I should have done it today. I needed help today.
Oh
But
man. You needed a red Solo cup? I got one right
I
here.
really did. And once again, I'm so unprepared. So dedication over. Listeners,
Yes.
this is a fakester for your girl cat because I didn't read anything. I
These are
didn't
my
bring
confessions. Just when I said
I read the title of that book and that was it. Nothing further. I didn't even bring a red Solo cup. I don't even have a drink for I don't have anything other than my presence
Listen, we just said breath was the most
and
important, and that's
breath.
all we needed really to record this. So
My breath is probably
it's all
super
good.
hot right now too.
Oh,
It's like 10
geez.
PM.
Wow. Same. I'm drinking wine,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you know, we ain't got to tell on ourselves. Everybody, guess what? Your breath probably stinks too. So you know what I'm saying? It's a thing. All right.
It's not great, but I'm
But
really excited to hear about this from you because you're gonna have to fill me in as well on the
yeah,
book. And I really did want to read it and find out about it because I really am a fan of hers. So
definitely.
I don't even have any excuse. I'm just showing up to class without my book report.
Yo, how the tables have
The
turned. No,
turntables have
the turned
turned.
tables have turned. Okay.
I know you are the prepared geek, and I
Wow.
am the
Wow.
super cool slacker.
Guess what? And when that happens, it's a whole situation. So how dare you? First of all, how dare you allow me to be in this position?
I
Because
know, because at first we are like, "Oh, maybe we should do something else."
uh,
I was like, "Wait a minute, no, we announced it.
we
Like,
did,
there's
we
no
did.
point in being like,
Well, let me just say this is the reason why I'm so glad we named the podcast this. This is so us right now. And y'all just have to know this is I mean, it makes it so nice because it is consistently inconsistent. Even if we had like played a different episode or because we had one that we could have used or whatever that wasn't this, but it was like, you know what? Fuck it. It's all good. We're gonna make it
let's keep it
roll.
100, and I do wanna hear about it too.
Yeah, and you still have to read it and we can talk about
I
it. Maybe we can go
Yes,
back and
I'm
do
definitely still gonna read it.
yeah, because I was willing to wait if you wanted to, because I get that part too. Because it was a good book, but you know what? Let's just jump into it though, friends.
Okay.
So all right. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit about the author. Jeanette Michelle Faye McCurdy is an American writer, director, podcaster, singer, and former actress. McCurdy's breakthrough role as Sam Puckett in the Nickelodeon sitcom iCarly earned her 4 Kids' Choice Awards, among other accolades. I'm sure she has many, many more. So forgive me, Jeanette, if I didn't put all of your, she had a super long IMBD. Like when I went on there, I'm like, bitch, you are accomplished. Okay.
But
So
she's been working since she was like 6.
she was 6 years old when she first started acting.
Oh,
So
I was just
she's got
messing that
lots and
I just
lots.
made that
No,
up. Was it really 6?
literally 6. That's so funny.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh,
So
that was
listen,
just a
you're tapped
guess.
in. No,
Nice.
see?
Maybe I can guess the rest of the book.
There you might be able to. I think you have a hunch because this is a tale as old as time.
Stage
Okay, this
moms.
is definitely yeah. So that's a little bit about her, you guys. The book was about 320 pages if you're reading it. I did the audiobook, which was read by the author, which was a nice touch. So you kind of could, get like a little feel for her personality or whatever. That was about 6 hours and 50 minutes. It was published this month, actually, in August 9th of 2020 by Simon and Schuster. So yeah, so the book really sort of it jumps right in. I feel like the first scene of the book, Jeanette is in the hospital with her mom, and you kind of figure out quickly that her mom has cancer. Her mom's kind of unresponsive, so like they're all taking turns kind of whispering stuff to her. And they're saying stuff like, "Oh, I'm moving to I'm moving to, wherever, California, or I got into college." And then Jeanette slides in there and she goes, Mom, I'm at our goal weight. I'm 89 pounds." And she was like shocked that her mom didn't like jump up from her coma damn near or from her unresponsiveness. And I thought, okay, we're in for something here because the fact that you thought that that was going to be the thing that wakes your mom up out of, a deep coma is fucking wild.
I'm sorry,
So,
time out.
yeah.
89 pounds?
Yo.
Seriously? How tall is this
Yo.
child?
She's not very tall. Don't make me Google it. I don't even know.
But
Let me look it up.
89 pounds? I don't think I've been 89 pounds since I was like maybe 7 or 8.
Yo. I mean, it's just extremely unhealthy, but to me, it just took it. I mean, I was like, wow, so this is where we're going with this. Like, this is going to be one
Wow.
of those stories. Let me see height. Her height. Height. Five
So is that
two.
something I mean, I don't
So
wanna
she's tiny.
compare, like, too much of my experiences and, like, put it on her, but, like, is that something your mom was ever on you about, like, your weight?
Absolutely not. It's a
I
weird
mean, we
it's a
weren't
weird thing.
performers, but
No, we weren't, but I don't think that you necessarily have to be, so thankfully, no, but I think this probably is relatable for a lot of young women because even if you're not getting direct comments about your weight, some moms pick at like the things that you eat or comment on how you look in certain things. Now, there
yeah,
is a such thing as like teaching your kids how to dress for their bodies and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Um, as not to be over sexualized or just to be, like, just proper, like, when you're in public, like, you gotta have a bra on, sis, like, no, you're not wearing a bonnet
or
to the
just being
store or a skirt
tasteful.
yeah, just, regular, and not shit on anybody who wears a bonnet out here in these streets, listen,
No,
scratch the
shots
bonnet
fired. You
I know,
heard
scratch the
it.
bonnet.
Moni came for your
Oh my
bonnet,
god.
y'all.
Listen, and I'm the bonnet lover of life, let me tell
You
you about how my
are. You have
mom
good bonnet habits.
Yo, my mom used to have to be like, "You're not coming outside with that scarf on your head. Take it off." Like, I was that girl. So understand that I'm not saying it because I feel it. I'm just saying like that is a thing that gets critiqued when we're moving around in the world. So
Sure.
outside of that part though, no, my mom never really did. She never said anything about my weight. I didn't even think about my weight literally till I was 24. And I only remember because I started working out with you.
Oh,
'Cause we
yeah,
were
that was
getting ready to
fun.
go to Mexico, and I
That
remember
was
weighing
great.
myself and being like, "Oh, okay, I guess this is higher than I thought it was gonna be," you know what I mean? So, I guess good thing I'm working out right now, but it's never I mean, not until my 20s, like, almost mid-20s was I even really thinking
On that
about my weight
time.
like that. Yeah, which is really crazy, so for her to be so young, and I can't remember exactly how old she was at that time, but again, to me, that just kinda set the tone, and I was like, "Oh, shit, this is about to be crazy." So the basic story is, so Jeanette was about 6 years old, like you said, when she got into acting, and they kinda paint the picture of her family life being sort of so they lived in California in a small town. They weren't well-to-do, so, like, they were I mean, I don't wanna call them white trash, but her family would
Well, you
joke about
said
the
it.
fact her f listen, listen, here you go, because I actually don't like saying that. You will never
I
catch me referring to people
I
as
don't
that. I
like
don't
that
do
term
that.
either.
It's not
Yeah.
for me, but it is a term that people do use, and I feel like because they describe their town as that, I'm inserting it there. So, if you can picture that. So, that's sort of their
They weren't
background.
elite whites.
No, they were lower social economic,
Right.
whites, if you will, and
Gotcha.
they were Mormon.
Oh,
So yes, very
interesting.
sheltered. I know you have a lot of information about
Ooh,
the
I
Mormon, and we'll get into
do.
that. But so just to set the scene, and so she had 3 brothers, and it was her, and the dad so, like, the mom was she basically would always tell Jeanette, like, we're best friends, so she would say stuff to her that was just, like, inappropriate, you know what I mean? I felt like that was sort of the first kinda, like, you don't do that, like, I'm friendly with my daughter, I want her to trust me, I want her to be able to talk to me, but I'm never gonna put that you're my best friend, and her mom didn't have a social life outside of Jeanette, and
No,
her the
we're not
marriage
peers.
no. The marriage wasn't happy,
Mm,
and it seemed like she was living through Jeanette, like, she wanted to be an actor, she never did it for herself, so she put her in it, and Jeanette always stayed in it because it seemed to make her mom so happy, and
gotcha.
it was really, really sad, and what I really liked about the way she told her story too was that it was, like, from the voice of her child self. So
Mm,
you got, like, some insights as to, like, how those interactions how she was taking in those interactions at the time, which I really enjoyed because, she was like, "Well, my mom seems real happy, that I'm acting. I mean, it's putting extra stress on me, but as long as she's happy." Like, she was when we talk about, like, people pleasers, I mean, she
mhm.
was that to the max, and I think as a listener or a reader of the book, it sort of puts you in a position of feeling like a mother, you know what I mean? Not even a mother or just like an adult, like, watching a situation that is unfolding that's super fucking inappropriate and just, like, wrong.
Okay.
So, I don't know, like, not like I like that per se, but I just thought that was like
Interesting narrative device.
I liked it a lot because it
Okay.
made you kinda like it brought me in a little bit more. Um, so yeah, I mean, and it was just so she goes into acting, and then from there, her mom was the kind of person. I mean, she was relentless, 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 and because Jeanette was so small anyway, she could get roles that were. that she played younger. So the
Right.
idea was for her to always look younger. And her mom controlled every aspect of her life, like to the point where, her mom gets her stuff for her birthday and she hates it, but doesn't know how to tell her mom she hates it and would just still wear the outfit. Like she never had a voice with her mom. She just always did
You know what this is
what she
giving?
could.
It's
What?
giving Jenna Maroney from 30 Rock. Like, part of the subplot
Yo.
was, her crazy stage mom and stuff like that, and she was never thin or blonde enough. Like,
Yo, like this could be her backstory. Like if Jeanette would have just stayed in Hollywood, she probably would have been like that.
if they had been from Florida, because she used to make her sing Christmas carols while her mom would shoplift to be a distraction. Like, she would just it's just wild because it's crazy to me, like, people would use their child like, when people
So
just see
sad.
children as accessories to their lives and not people within themselves, to me, that's always really tragic.
Yeah, and you could tell because Jeanette was totally lost without any direction from her mom because she didn't
Mhm.
even know. She never even gave herself a chance to think about what she liked, wanted, thought, any of that. And because the dad was so checked out, and it was like
Mm.
they had like a really abusive and toxic relationship too, because girl, come to find out, the Jeanette's daddy wasn't even her real fucking daddy, and you don't even find that out to the end. Spoiler alert. Bam, 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 bam. And I'm like, no wonder this dude was checked the fuck out. Cause she was like cheating on him and had these kids, but he stayed, I guess to save. I mean, people feel like, we're Mormon, I guess.
Divorce is very much around because you're
And it's
sealed because that's who you
yo,
spend the afterlife with.
yeah.
So, you gotta to get unsealed, that's a whole big old thing.
That
So,
is crazy.
oof.
That is crazy. So, you're saying like from a Mormon thing?
Mhm.
Oh, dude,
That's
so I
part of the spirituality. Like, yeah, when you're married, like, you're sealed together, so that means and even in the afterlife, you're still going to be together as a family.
no. No, I'm just playing.
Y y
If you're stuck to
So
somebody terrible, oh my god.
yeah, and it's so weird too because it's not like they never get divorced either, so then you have to do a thing too where you get unsealed. And of course, it's different from denomination to denomination. Of course, Mormons aren't a monolith. No group is, but like in
Right,
certain
sure, sure,
sects
sure.
of it and stuff like that, yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, so it was I mean, you just
Oh,
saw dysfunction. Her
Jeanette.
mom was like a hoarder. Her dad was checked
Oh.
out. Her grandparents tried. The granddad
Mm.
tried. The grandma was fucking crazy. You can see why the mom was nuts. But what ends up happening basically is she goes on all these auditions. She puts her in every kind of dance class, every kind of class you can think of. And there comes a point where Jeanette is starting to bud breasts. Like she's getting kind of
Mm.
regular work. She doesn't have any, she's not been the star of anything per se, but she's been, she's kind of her portfolio's going up. She's getting more jobs and stuff, and the money she's making's helping the family. That was like another little subplot that she feels all this pressure to help take care of her family because she knows they have financial issues and stuff like that. But when her body starts changing and stuff, she didn't know what was going on, and she asked her mom. She was like, I think for one, she thought she had cancer because her mom had breast cancer. You know what I'm saying? And her which was awful, so she tells her like, "Mom, I think I have cancer." She's like, "Why are you saying that?" She was like, "Well, because my chest, it hurts." She's like, "Only on one side. It wasn't both." And she touched her and she was like, "Oh, that girl, those are your boobs coming in." And she was like, how do I stop this?" Because in her mind, she's like,
Mm.
"That means I'm growing up. I know you don't want me to," because that was something that she would tell her all the time. "I don't want you to grow up. I want you to stay, my baby," and all of that kind of stuff. And she's like taking that literally and stuff. So she said, "You just have to become small and you can do this thing called calorie counting or like restricting your calories." So she had this child. And at this point, God, how old was she? I wish I remembered that. But she was pretty, she was still pretty young. And that's when that started. Like, so then she starts having like basically body dysmorphia. You know what I mean? Like you're now it started off with anorexia, like sort of, they be just eating because her mom was. She's like, looking back, I guess my mom was because she eat like a granola bar and just plain tea in the morning and some lettuce, like that's pretty much all she would eat because her mom was tiny, and she would always joke about being huge because she was like 96 pounds. So her mom was really petite too. And so she just put all of that on her. Girl, she was dyeing this baby's hair. She was bleaching her teeth, comparing her to
Oh,
other
it's like giving
stars.
toddlers and tiaras too.
Yo, she knew the paparazzi and would be like, "Hey, Tim." Like it was really, really fucked up. And her mom didn't even let her bathe herself, girl. She was still bathing her, washing her up, washing her hair when she was like 16. She had her brother in there with her sometimes. I was like, she said we would just both be standing there trying not to look at each other because we were so like humiliated. Like couldn't even look at each other. I'm like, "What was the point of that?" And she would, like, examine her. She was like, "I don't even really know what that was about." Like, her mom would be like,
Now it's giving like Principal Skinner and his mom from The Simpsons,
"Yo,
where she's
damn."
like, well, they just had a weird thing. She was like, "It's time for my daily mole check." It's like, what?
It's like, "This is
This is deeply
disgusting."
unhealthy.
Yeah, I don't need to like, this
Oh,
is not okay. Yeah, so and it was crazy because I don't know, I thought that the relationship that she had with her daughter, I mean, on top of being controlling too, it's just crazy because she ended up taking her to the doctor, and she had heard. Oh, yeah, she took her to the doctor, heard she was, like, 69 pounds, but she thought she was 59, and she was freaking out because, she had on something, like shoes or something like that, and I don't like, they it got to the point where they were weighing themselves, like, both of them, like, 5 times a day, you know what I mean? And so, she was freaking out and nervous about being weighed. She thought she was 59 pounds, she was 69 pounds, and the doctor ends up taking the mom outside the room like, "Yo, this is not healthy, like, I think she might be anorexic, um, you need to make sure you're watching her." And she was like, "Oh, no, it's," basically like, "Oh, no, she's fine, it's fine." And Jeanette heard everything and was like, she never heard that word, and then heard it again at a dance class and figured out what it was and stuff. And so, I don't know, it was crazy, but she just didn't think anything of it because she was like, "Well, my mom went, we're best friends, so I mean, duh." She was just so sheltered, and it was just crazy. It was just nuts. It was just super duper crazy. So, I mean, it was basically like she was not trying to let her daughter grow up. She wanted control over every aspect of her life. And, it got to the point where, she'd be um auditioning for things, and her mom, there was just, she finally told her mom, "I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to do this anymore," because she was actually known for like being able to cry on the spot and,
oh,
like, freak out because she was like, and what's weird is, like, she was like, "I got it from watching my mom," like, her and my dad, like, people were always like, how can you just cry? Like, how can you just, have these
yeah.
intense emotions out of nowhere?" And she was like, "Shit, I watched this shit at home, like, I got
She's
it
like,
from
it's
home."
coming from somewhere.
Exactly, but when she said she just got exhausted though, like, "I'm just fucking
Oh,
exhausted doing this," and her mom would start crying because her mom was she seemed like a narcissist, like, she was very, and I know we throw that word around, but, like, nah, for real, because it's like when you're using other people just to kinda make yourself feel better, to the point where she would always tell the story. She would always make them watch this video of her surviving cancer before. So, like, that was the thing, like, she would have these bouts where she'd get really sick, and then she'd come back. So, there was
okay.
always that kinda back and forth thing. But, like, when it got really bad and they thought she was gonna die and she didn't, she had, like, a tape where, "Oh, that's," and would make them watch it every day. And would tell people that, like, she was like, "People we didn't even fucking know," like, she would just use it, and she was just like, I was so embarrassed and, like, got to a point where I kinda, like, hated her, but felt guilty for feeling like that, and so as things go along, you see how, like, the all of that stuff, her being thrusted into fame, she did not want that, if she was super uncomfortable with it. Sounds like the actress in, iCarly, they got along,
I was about
pretty
to say,
good.
she seemed really cool. I'm trying to think of her real name.
I know, and I should have this in my notes, that's really
I
messed up.
know, cause she was, cause she actually seemed kinda normal.
Yeah, she was, and it
'Cause she,
was
like, went
nice.
to school and stuff, like, she quit the show and she's like, "I'm gonna go to college and just kinda
Yeah,
be normal and da da da." Let's see,
yeah, it seems like that
iCarly.
friendship was really, valuable for her at the time because
Marina or Miranda Crossgrove.
boom, Miranda, shout out to you, yes,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
Freddie
she
got
was
cute.
good, she was good. Freddie, the guy that was on
Yeah,
there?
Fredward. He's
Not
like,
Fredward.
he he cute. Okay, good job growing up.
Yeah, man. Well, I liked it that they were friends, I liked that they kinda like, she figured out what, AOL Instant Messenger was, because she was
Okay.
asking her, "Hey," she was like, do you have it?" And she was like, "Yeah." Because she was like, "I figured I should, because if I," she so she
She
figured out
wants
what it
to,
was.
like
Ding
yeah.
dong.
Didn't want to feel that. Wow, how long ago was this? Do the children know about AOL
She does
Messenger?
well, this so she Jeanette is 30 right now,
Oh, I meant
so
the listeners.
I don't know. You can tell them.
It's like, listeners, a long time ago, there was this thing called America Online in the
Mhm.
early days of the internet, and it was the shit. It was like, because it didn't used to always be Facebook Messenger. So think that.
It's exactly that
It was
except
blue
for
and white too.
For
It's
old
great.
people,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, they had that, and they so she was able to have, like, a friendship a little bit with her outside of that, and, somebody who was in the business who kinda understood, but, I mean, it was the traditional fucked up stuff that you would imagine that Hollywood kids go through, isolation, depression, eating disorders like herself, dysfunctional relationships, and, she describes the relationship with the guy who made the show, I guess, or she refers to him as the creator, she never says his name, but, like, she
Oh,
was
that dude from Nickelodeon, the Nickelodeon
Yes, the
producer?
weird Nick
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
I do remember reading about that, like, in an
Do you?
article. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, he was, interested in her, I guess, you know what I mean? Because he would take turns, obviously, being interested in different ones. Doesn't sound like it actually turned into anything sexual, but there was rubbing of the
Inappropriate.
shoulders and the legs and just like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you your own show." Like, she was supposed to have a spinoff show, with just her, but that ended up turning into Sam and Cat.
Okay.
And they did kinda get into the fact that she wasn't feeling Ariana Grande at the time because couple of reasons, jealousy was probably the top one, you know what I mean? She's all
Okay.
beautiful and petite and fucking talented, there's that part, but then also, she said that, when she had other projects going on, they never worked with her for time
Oh,
off and stuff, and she was like, "And I was recording for a whole week because Ariana had to go on." She was doing something, like an award
okay.
show or other, they were always very flexible with her, and, she was like, they wrote a whole script the whole week I'm recording with a box, like, she locked herself in a box, and she was like, "That was some bullshit," like, she was talking to a box all week, and she's like, "I can't get," but that's the thing too, right? She's always the agreeable person. She's never "Don't be difficult because you won't get the job," you know what I'm saying? Like, stuff like that, so, it just you just feel that slow burn and crescendo to where she finally fucking gets to the point, through these, relationships with friends and in Hollywood, how she finally got to a point where she could just try to be, and actually, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that her mom did die, because she was like, "I'm pretty sure if she was still here, I would still be," like, she had to figure out who she was when her mom died, because it was like, I
Right.
literally had no idea who that was, and she did a lot of therapy. She, ended up going to therapy because a boyfriend figured out that she was bulimic, so it went from anorexia to
Oh.
bulimia. And he saw throw up or something on the, toilet seat, and he was like, "I can't be with you if you're dealing with this, like, you need to get some help." And so she goes and she's doing therapy, and she likes the lady, and at the point where she was kind of, like, pointing out to her or helping her, understand how dysfunctional and how abusive her mom was, like, asking her questions like, "Did your mom have friends?" Or like, when she was doing all of that, she just was like she ended up leaving because she was just like, I just didn't feel comfortable with her making my mom a
Mm,
bad guy, you know what I'm saying? So she ended up quitting therapy with her, but she did end up getting into some other therapy with this guy, which I thought that was interesting too, like, maybe it was, like, the messaging felt
from
different
a
coming from a
woman.
man,
Yeah.
and so she was able to receive it, and it was a little different too because I guess it was geared around, um her, like, specifically her addictions and stuff, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So, but I mean, regardless, it seems like it's something that she worked on over time or whatever, you know what I mean? But I think that's what ended up making her stop because she recognized that, like, she had a toxic relationship with acting. Like, it was triggering because there's always food around and she just started binging. It just got to be like, I can't be in these
Well,
situations.
yeah, it's a trauma response,
Yeah,
right? Like,
definitely.
you're in these situations, and it can be hard to figure out what you want when you haven't had those structures in
Mhm.
place. Because it sounds like her mom wasn't parenting, she was just I was thinking today because I saw a woman flipping out on her kid at the gas station, and I was thinking about how so many people, because of their examples growing up, they think parenting is about dominance and control. And so if your child isn't doing exactly what you're telling them to do exactly in that moment, they're being defiant and you have to reestablish dominance
Mhm.
instead of being like, okay, we talked about like being an emotional buffer from the deepest well and stuff like that. Like the the and I can't even imagine because you said her grandmother was kind of crazy too.
Yo, so after her mom died, that was what was so crazy. Because before that, it's very topical. She doesn't talk about her in depth, but she was just saying, like, she was trying to keep a relationship with her grandma, and she said, "But it's really hard because she's triggering because she's super dramatic like her mom." She's like, "I would call her," she said, "So I would call her, like, once a week," but she was like, "That wasn't enough." She wanted she instantly start bawling, like, on the phone, like, "You don't come see me," and trying to make just instantly trying to make you feel guilty for, like, having a life and stuff like that, and, it was just super weird. It was just like, this is why I you could just tell that's what got passed down, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and it was like, this is hard to stomach. Like, how do you even deal with somebody who's supposed to be somebody who loves you, you know what I mean? And then that's how they're treating you, and she said she would call her a bitch. And your mother would be rolling over in her grave, da 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 da. I mean,
Wait,
even
who would call who a bitch?
the grandma would call Janetta bitch. Like that was like one of her favorite things to call her. She finally blocked her grandma after a while, which I
Oh,
was like, good for
good.
you.
Good for
Cause
her.
you can
Cause
get blocked. It don't matter who you are. Like if you're taken down, listen, if you are not
anybody can get it.
anybody can get it. Thank you. In summation, anybody can get it. Cause
Anybody can get it or not get it. That's the thing too. It's like this is actually very uplifting. I'm really happy because it's so funny because the character of Sam is so different than Jeanette. Because you said like her big thing was like being agreeable.
mm-hmm.
Man, she wasn't going for any bullshit.
Yeah,
Like she
man.
was messing everybody up who got in her way. And
Yep.
really the only person who could check her was Carly because she valued her relationship with Carly. But what was funny was on the show, her mom was a hot mess.
Yeah. Yep.
And not exactly in the same way, but it was still that kind of like weird. And I wonder why the writers, because to me
Mhm.
it was just some very interesting choices. I'm like, wow, this is
But what's weird is that it sounds like it was in the works for the mom to be like that, but I mean, for the mom to be a mess kind
mm-hmm.
of anyway, but I'm sure that I mean, art just imitates life, I guess sometimes. And I'm sure they got material to pull from after a while too though. You know what I mean? Like after
Right.
they recognized that cuz her mom was she was small but mighty. Like she had a presence, because she did. And parental relationships are just difficult, even under the best of circumstances. And even though her mom abused her, I don't want to make this feel like a sympathizing thing for abusers and stuff like that. But I just think that it sort of really encapsulate how difficult and layered, those relationships can be because they're not all one way. Like you can love the hell out of your parents and they could have dragged you. They could have done terrible things. They could have made choices that affected your life in a negative way. But like that underlying feeling of like affection that you have toward this person. And so just seeing her sort of grappling with all of that and finally being able to come to a point where she can see her mom for who she really was versus that title. I think it's sometimes we get stuck in relating to people just from the aspect of the title that they hold, whether that's mother or husband or whatever. And it's like when you relegate somebody to a title and you never really see them for who they are and you're not really listening to what they say because like you said, you're a prop in my life or you're an extra. You're here to make me look good or you're here to, help me get this thing over here that I want that I wasn't able to get.
Right. Or validate my
And
existence.
yes, or validate my existence. That's the other part. It's like that's such a weird thing to do to our kids, like but it is what we do, right? I mean, and that was one of the things that one of her therapists was talking to her about how, like a lot of the time either that we're living vicariously through our kids or righting some wrong that happened to us or whatever baggage we've got, we're unloading on them a lot of the time. So, um I like that we got to see her child self talking about it and then her sick self as an adult that was affected by that talking about it and then her as an adult that recognized that it was an issue, kind of processing it because yeah,
What's making me happy is that she came out of this.
yes,
Because we hear about child actors so much, like, it makes a lot of sense because when you because I don't wanna say all child actors. There's obviously people who
sure,
did really well and had, parents who really cared about them, and they really wanted to do this. So it's obviously not everybody's story that they only got into this because their parent was an overbearing stage mom.
sure.
But the fact that she did have it, because I feel like Macaulay Culkin's story was similar to this. Like, that was half
Mm,
one of the reasons why he and Michael Jackson, like, kinda bonded because they're like, "Hey, you have an overbearing stage parent? Me too."
yeah.
Like, like, it is very strange to grow up in the public eye too, because like I said, you used to being this small, adorable kid, and they were talking about this with the Stranger Things cast, about how, like, a lot of the producers didn't like it when they were going through puberty, because 'cause you're not, like, the adorable little whelps, like Ralph Scallions anymore, like you're becoming an adult. And they said a lot of the times you as a young person, you don't have the lens to be like, well, wait, why aren't I booking anymore? You
Oh, and you're
know,
taking it personal.
I mean,
I think
adults
that's so
do.
hard.
Like if I'm like, man, why didn't I
Yeah.
get that job?
It's
It's
fucking
like,
brutal, and I mean, and a lot of it has to do with how you look, because she talked about that. It was like, "So I was not pretty enough to get this one, but I was too pretty for this one," or I was
mhm,
and I think too, like, when you're in a space where you're becoming who you are, because 'cause we're always doing that, but especially during those sort of, like, really formative years, that is so tough, man. I'm trying to think, like, could you imagine being recorded
no,
during the time
no.
you were
That's why I'm so glad there wasn't social media.
I mean, give me a break. Like, that would have been absolutely terrible to have that chronicled. And I mean, like, she even experienced her first kiss on camera. You know what I mean? Like, she was a late
Oh,
bloomer. I don't even think she started having sex until she was like 19 or 20, maybe. I don't even know.
that's
She was
not that
older,
late.
18. Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
That is late. And I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I just think that I don't, is that average? Maybe it is.
It might be. I mean, I feel like I was 19. But I was a late,
That
I was kinda
exactly,
matured.
you just made my point. And I think a lot of it was just like her was the way she was
Touche.
brought up, you know what I mean? Her
Right.
Mormon stuff, she still internalized a lot of that.
Heck
And
yeah.
her mom, even when she started dating, oh my god, she, like, took a trip with this boyfriend guy. They went to I think Nickelodeon paid for them at the end of whatever, like a room or a week at this resort in, Hawaii, and she went with this guy, she had never had sex before. This dude, this dumbass, he's way older than her. She might have been like 18 at the time. And she lied to her mom about going on this trip because
Right.
obviously control much. So she was like, "Oh, I'm with the actress." I'm sorry, and of course I forgot her
Miranda
name already.
Cosgrove?
Miss Miranda. Yes. She lied and said that, and then her mom ends up finding out that she's lying because paparazzi, you know what I'm saying? She ends up seeing it and she's like blowing her phone up and stuff, calling her a whore and stuff, and all this stuff just making her feel terrible about being a real life person who, wants to get to know a boy who she likes and whatever, and she wasn't even fucking this dude. So this guy ends up leaving his wife for her, or his girlfriend, excuse me, not wife, girlfriend of 5 years to be with her, and they hadn't even had sex. And so
He was
at
just
one
ready to leave that relationship.
dumb it, thank you. You just need an excuse. And you have this young girl who's gonna take you on this trip with you and shit, and probably, maybe I don't even know. But they get on this trip and he wants to have sex and stuff, and she just hadn't before, and she was like, "I don't want to." Like, she had a very, like, weird relationship with sex because she never wanted to grow up. Her goal was always to stay small and be her mom's pet. Like, that was, like, literally her goal. So, like,
Mm,
becoming a woman made her
terrified
feel
her.
fucking crazy. Like, she was like, "I don't wanna do it. Like, it's nasty, it's gross, and I don't wanna do it." And so, but she does end up giving the dude head because he's like, "You just at least suck my dick?" It's like, "Dude." So she was like, "So I did."
It's like, that's all
And
shut him
I
up.
was not impressed. Yeah, it was like, and hated it.
It's like, I
But
see why
yeah,
he liked it.
ugh. But just it was just crazy though, just to see her just sort of fumbling her way through these relationships like we all do, but with the added baggage of just like literally not having any clue what you like or anybody talking to you about like what it even is like to be with a boy or what to expect during your first kiss. And she was just like, it was humiliating, like to do all of that in front of people and to
So
be
her was her
burned in people's
first
brains like that too,
was her
though.
first kiss on iCarly? Because I remember she kissed Fredward
Yeah.
on an ep that was her first
That was
real
her
life kiss?
first real life kiss. And she
And
said she had
it's
to do it
crazy
7
too
times.
because the episode I remember that episode where because it was her first kiss and on the show too, and so she was feeling vulnerable because everyone sees her as this really tough girl or whatever, and she was being really vulnerable with Fredward, even though Fred had the crush on Carly. That's who he really wanted to be with.
Mm.
And, she had to keep talking about, like, that's just crazy to me. That's just
Mhm.
I couldn't imagine, like,
Yo.
real benchmarks being captured on tape for other people's entertainment.
I could Google that scene right now and see a picture of her and this boy having a first kiss now today in 2022. You know what I
That's
mean? As a point of reference for something that I read in her book. And so that's the part too. She's just like, it just got to be too much. I can't keep putting myself in a position where, just the constant judging and the constant it was just a lot.
rejection.
Yeah, it just got to the point where she was like, I can't do this. It's triggering on all the levels. And so that's what actually ended up making her stop, doing the acting because just through therapy and stuff, she just recognized that it wasn't. And she always liked writing, even when she wrote a screenplay when she
Oh.
was younger and tried to show it to her mom. And she was like, started crying. And she was like, what's wrong? She was like, I just don't want you to like writing more than being an actor because actors' butts get big like watermelons. You want to keep your butt small like a peach.
Wait, she was saying writers have big butts?
Yeah. Like they sit around writing and shit like that. They end up getting
Huh,
fat.
huh.
Yeah, writers. Take that, Tina Fey. Her
Shots fired.
I
I mean,
mean,
what
come on. I
that
mean,
is
yeah, come on,
that's such a
Issa, all of
crazy
y'all.
thing.
Y'all are fat
I
asses
I try
apparently.
to I go over because I try to be really careful with what I say to my daughter because I know, like, there's a lot of power there.
There is.
And, I wanna wield it responsibly, and I don't wanna, or I know I'm not doing a perfect job, so I know I am, like, irreversibly harming her, but I'm never trying to.
Yeah.
But the idea of saying something like, "Oh, well, I just,"
I don't
because if
want you
there's
to like
something she
that.
wants to do, I want her to pursue it as long as it's not something that's gonna be harmful.
Yo,
Like, if
this
she wanted to be
is
a writer, that'd be fascinating, especially if you like money. Like,
yeah, it's a good thing to get into.
yeah,
And I think she liked the idea of writing more because she's like, "I felt you feel more in control." She was like, "I'm tired
yeah,
of being what somebody else wrote on the
a
paper. Like, I
puppet.
want the opportunity to write a story or to, realize something." And it's just hard. I mean, I do feel like people will say, "Well, you get into acting, the fact," because she was like, when I'm out and people yell stuff like, "Where's your butter sock?" and "fried chicken," and all the
Oh,
little
she did like fried
catchphrases and
chicken.
stuff. She's like, "Man, I guess," she was like, "I will not take a picture with you if you call me if you like," she's like, "If you don't even know my name, like, if you're just calling me Sam, like, hey, Sam," and, she's like, "'Cause for me, it's like, if you took the time to know who I am as a person, I need you to recognize I'm not fucking Sam right now. Like, I'm an actress doing a fucking job."
And here's the other
And
thing, celebrities don't owe you pictures.
they don't.
Nobody owes you
And
a picture.
you liked a job that I did, and I'm grateful for that, but I also don't necessarily owe you my mental health. Like, if me stopping and doing this is affecting my mental health, or if it's in the middle of something I'm doing and you can't, as a person, understand how this is a bad time. Because even when she was in the hospital with her mom, somebody walked in and was like, Sam Puckett, is that, like, you look just like, she was like, nope. She's like, well, can I still take your picture anyway? First of all, as a healthcare worker, you ought to be ashamed.
You
And
going to
you
jail. You
listen,
need to
people would be
go to
getting fired left and right for that bullshit, looking at people's files who are famous. What the fuck do I care? Even if that
Did
was
you see that?
iCarly.
Vanessa Bryant got that money
She should
for the
have. That's some
LAPD
bullshit.
taking picture of her dead husband and child. I was like, "Are you out of your mind?" People are
They're out
though.
of their
I'm
fucking
realizing
minds,
that, like,
friend.
you're out of your mind, like, these are people, like, just do your job and relax, like,
That's all I'm saying. Is like, and so I can respect that. And now I'm not saying there aren't times where you might, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that she's been a people pleaser. She knows what that's like, but I'm okay with the fact if somebody's saying like, "This is not a good time for me." I know you I would never even ask because I don't for one, I don't wanna be shut down. And I don't wanna be bothersome. I'm good enough to just be like, "Oh my gosh, like, I saw such and such, like, that's kinda cool." You know what I mean? But I'm not stopping you because 'cause I've seen famous people. I remember working in the airport seeing people, and it's like, I'm not about to stop these folks.
They got a plane to catch.
I'm not about to do that
And
and then
what's
say
really
something
gonna
corny. You think you're
happen?
original? You think
Yeah.
you're gonna say something so funny and original to them that they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, we're friends now." It's like,
Allow me
"You're
to
a
change your
nuisance,
life.
bitch. You're a gnat right now, okay?" For and it's like, I don't wanna be perceived that
Ah.
way, you know what I mean? Like, at all. So, as cool as it might be to see somebody, it's like, "Yo, I don't think I wanna actually walk up to them and ask them," anything actually, but yeah,
Ugh.
so she was definitely like, "Yeah, this is not for me. I'm not that girl." And I
So when
was
did her mom die? And she died of breast
2000
cancer?
and yes, 2013.
Okay.
She yes, had breast cancer and it just went back and forth though. You know what I mean? Like she would be doing well and then it just went back and forth a lot, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And so yeah, man, that's just I mean, and that's hard too because then it's like, my mom has cancer is also something that might make you feel like we have to do everything to make her comfortable and happy because I don't know when she's gonna go. You know what I'm saying? So you have that added layer of stuff too. So it's just like her mom knew what she was doing. She was very deliberate about the way that she controlled her daughter. And a lot of that was financial. A lot of it was just to boost her up. She could say, "Oh, my daughter," she liked being able to showcase her daughter for all the stuff that, she couldn't
Sure.
do that she wanted to do. And, the interesting part was it was funny because Jeanette's mom had a friend who she was like, "I don't know if she likes this lady or not because one day it's her best friend, the next day she don't trust the bitch, like, I don't know." You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm getting mixed messages, but I thought it was, crazy that the person who ended up telling she finds out that her dad isn't her real dad. Her dad ends up meeting up with her and telling her, and the mom's best friend was there with him because they were dating, and I guess it happened pretty soon after, um, her mom passed away, and I think her and her brothers were like, "Damn, that was kinda quick, and his mom's friend, but okay." You know what I'm saying? That's weird, and I guess she was the one who told her, like, you need to tell her."
Yeah.
So he ended up telling her and stuff,
So
and
did she
then
ever find out who her real dad
yeah,
was?
she found out, and
Okay.
I guess he was like a musician, so she went
Oh.
to a show with, 2 of her friends to watch him perform because she was like, "I'm gonna go up to him if nobody's near him at the end of the show," and so she ends up being able to approach him and say, "I think we have something in common." They both start crying, and then they go back and they talk a little bit, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've known all this time. I didn't reach out because your mom wouldn't let
So he
me."
knew.
He knew.
Oh,
He
wow.
knew, and it doesn't sound like I mean, I don't know when this was in the timeline, you know what I'm saying, as far as when she actually reached out till now, but, if her mom died in 2017, that's not been that long, so, from the book, it wasn't like, "Oh, we have a relationship now," it felt like maybe it just felt like she didn't know, like, do I even like, he never even reached out for me, like, I know who he is, he knows who I am.
I'm sorry, I'm clutching my pearls.
Yeah, you should, that's
Um,
really fucked up.
like, oh, because
But she described it as pleasant, like, it was nice, but it doesn't sound like at the time it was anything more than that particular meeting. So I don't know if they've done more after that now, but how awkward is that?
it's pretty darn awkward. I'm trying to think
Yeah,
of, like,
for
right
sure.
now, I just wanna do, like, a side dedica thank you, mom. Like, my
Yeah.
mom
Well,
for, like, being a g like, it's so d like, it should be so much harder to be a mom. Like, it's too easy to have children. Like,
it is.
it should be, like, a lot of rigmarole to be able to parent because
That
did you
word.
ever hear that story about rigmarole?
Fuck that word.
Sorry. There
God.
should be more red tape,
Ah,
before you can have a kid. Like, it shouldn't be able to be an accident by any means. Like, the fact that
I
people can
know.
just accidentally reproduce is just insane.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
Did you ever like hear that story about the girl? What was her name? Gypsy Rose. Like they did a couple documentaries about it. Mommy Dead and Dearest, the Munchausen by proxy.
Yes, she compared her situation to that.
It sounds like it because the
Yeah.
more you talked about it, the more I
Oh,
thought about it, and also too just hiding. That one was just way more insane though, because long story short, that we need to do that story.
yo, we should. That one was crazy. I've watched that whole thing. That was
'Cause she ended
nuts.
up killing her mom. Well, not
Yeah.
directly, she had her boyfriend kill her mom, like, they plotted, but to the point where I was like, "I get it." I don't even think she should even had to go to jail
It's
because she
not even
did
fair. That lady, she's not
that was
okay.
self-defense.
Sh sh
She killed her mom in self-defense.
she was not okay.
No.
You
Especially
know?
because she kept having to have those surgeries and stuff.
And she wasn't sick. She
And
kept
the fact that the doctors kept doing it and see, this is what happens when you and those there were too many nerds that got passed, but there was even in that one, there was one guy who was like, "Oh, this is an obvious case of Munchausen by proxy," and then nobody followed up. And it's just like,
it's like my
"Ooh,
mom needs me to be sick, so I'm sick.
yeah, she just oh, that
That
and
shit
see,
was
that's what I'm
wild.
saying, like, you shouldn't be like, why can people like that and you think of all, like, the lovely people who are trying to have kids and can't, and then you have these monsters who are just plopping them out.
Ew, not just said plopping.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
said
happens.
plopping
Very
them out.
plop.
That's what
Yo,
happens, like, as far
plop,
yeah, they're just like,
plop.
it's like little
Ah,
ego enhancers, there we go. That's all they
that's
are.
exactly what it ends up being, and I will say from her perspective too, there's a point in the book, and I really like that she said this part because on the opposite, not even opposite side, this is an accompaniment to what you just said too, because the reason why it shouldn't be that easy is because it's even if you're gonna be a air quotes good mom, there's still gonna be shit you do that probably affects your kid's mental health. All kinds of stuff that you have no idea about that you're
Yeah, I'm
gonna
not
have
batting a
to
thousand.
nobody is. And so like if you go into it knowing that that's one thing, but like I think if you go into it, um I don't know, like, it's just there was a part at the end of the book that I really liked because she visited her mom's headstone, and she was like, they couldn't decide on what to put on there. So she's like, there's just all these adjectives on there. There's just all these words to describe her mom. And she said it's
Mhm.
kind of fitting because her mom was a hoarder. So it's like it's a mess and it was all over the place. So it kind of
Ah,
fits. But she said she's reading all these words but was she though? And how like mothers sometimes can feel like again going back to that title thing like because you have this fucking title like you enter this sainthood realm or something like well I was your mother and I pushed you out for bitch good I'm glad you did and I thank you for that but I can't like I don't that doesn't give you the right to like hijack my whole fucking life you have to let me go you have to love me with your hand open you have to know that like this isn't this thing where we're codependent on each other forever. And I think hearing her say, like, she just felt like in her mind, she always idolized like a mom. Like a mom is like this, is this thing. And she just realized like my mom was like actually really terrible though. And I love her, but she was terrible. She was
yeah.
terrible at the job. It has affected me. And I'm here despite
And
all
my
of that.
brothers and
But
sisters.
yeah, like it's a big title, but I just feel like sometimes it gets glorified, from kids and from moms. What really what that truly means. And so yeah, just a second on what you're saying. I just feel like it's a hard ass job and I don't think anybody should be taking it lightly and nobody is perfect because they're somebody's mom, or
So
made to feel less than if they're not even. You know what I'm saying?
for
Like
for Jeanette, does she talk about does she wanna have children? Does she wanna be a mom
I
someday?
don't know.
She didn't mention it.
She didn't
Okay.
even get there.
Okay. I mean,
I think right
that's
now
her business.
she's probably doing the job of mothering herself at this point because,
Right.
that's what this takes. I mean, like when you've lived a life and like it's like you're peeling away the layers to finally get down to the truth and you're in a space where you can start to become the person who like she's getting to know herself. So she,
That's good.
if she does, I mean, I wish her luck with that. I also, would understand if she was like, "You know what? I'm good." Because I've always understood that, you know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
always have. I love my kids and they make me a better person. They force me into mothering myself because like you say, you recognize that every little thing you do can be affecting them so deeply. You know, and so it's already hard, you guys, especially if like you're saying, if the point of being somebody's parent isn't just to fucking dominate them, control them, make them like what you like, make them do what you do, and you're not just puppet mastering the shit out of their lives, and you're not teaching them how to think for themselves and to be in this world and show up as authentically who they are, like that is a whole nother layer of bullshit that you have to deal with when it comes to the human experience. So I'm trying not to do that, but again, probably not nailing it 100%, but I think the mindfulness part, you have to go into it with that in mind.
I
It's not
think
for
you're
the weak.
doing a good job.
I mean, I'm sure I'm doing all right, but
So all right. But,
like after this week, I don't know. Could be, but it's a slight, it goes up and down, but it's just like anything, man. Like you're very rarely going to consistently be like
knocking it out.
perfect. Yeah, I mean, especially with
A
people.
little yelly.
Yeah, it's like, dude, there's only so much patience sometimes you can have. But I also I don't know. I liked that she said that because she was just like, yeah, we idolize mom sometimes, and it's like, from that perspective, it's like, my mom can't do anything wrong. Like she couldn't even look at her mom in a negative light in therapy. Like that was too much. Like she literally
Right.
got up and left. Like you ain't gonna be talking about my mama,
My mama.
and how we will defend some sick ass shit in the name of our moms or in the name of, putting that title. And it's like, like maybe that's not great,
Yeah, that's not it might not be
and fuck that
serving us.
title. Exactly. And
It
so,
might not be serving us. This might just be sort of an unearned, status.
yeah,
And some people do it for that, where it's like, "Well, I'm a mother, and you
and
can't talk to." Yeah,
that's
it's
her
like, "No, you
grandma,
can get
that's her
talked about."
mom. Yo, you can get it too. And I mean, respectfully, if you need me to throw that in front of it, respectfully,
It's like, you know what? But respect, and
respectfully.
it's so sad too, because it's so not been my experience. It's not like I had
Mhm.
perfect female role models in my life, but because their intentions were to
Mhm.
be good moms and good role models, I think I benefited from that, even if it was,
Absolutely.
of course, no one's perfect. I don't even deserve perfect. What about, like, there's
Right.
not even that expectation isn't realistic. But when I think of, like, the amount of people I know who endured so much abuse at the hands of, their parents, especially their moms, it's to me, it's so sad because I think what we're sold in society is that your romantic partnership is gonna be the greatest love in your life and the most significant love in your life, where actually a lot of times your parental relationships are gonna be way more formative types of love and how you form attachments and how you move through life. It doesn't have to just be that, not that it's gonna be the most significant form of love, but those are it to me, it's underestimated how important different love relationships are, not just the romantic love, but just
Mhm.
how we're loving other people in our lives.
Yeah.
Those are really significant too and require work and
Mhm.
examination and change. And that was it.
You know what? I agree with you.
Thank
And
you.
also too, I mean, like, loving somebody isn't always easy. I mean, because they're not always making all the choices you want them to make, and they don't always want the same things you want. And so, that's what makes love, or part of what makes love, a challenge. But also, I mean, to me, I mean, self-love is probably, I mean, and I know I have said this on this show before, is the most important love. And that's the one thing that I know I can't talk my kids into if I don't feel like that. You know what I mean? Which is why that's something that has to be on the forefront. And a lot of that just comes down to, conversations and talking to your kids about, or just the people, anybody in your life, like who, about what they want and considering that. And I don't know, like for me, it was a very real and touching. There were some funny parts. There were some really, really sad parts. I mean, the self-loathing and then like the eating disorder and just all of the anxiety that she felt that she internalized because she didn't have a voice and just how toxic all of that is, man. Like you have to have an outlet. It's just so important. And it's even more sad when it's like being handed down from the people who are supposed to be teaching you the way. And then you have to find it for yourself. But that does just kind of, some of us are lucky enough to have that guidance in our formative years, and some of us aren't. And I think when you can make it through that kind of trauma and get to the other side, or maybe there's never really an other side per se, but when you've gotten to the point where you can recognize where you came from and say, okay, and start making some decisions kind of in a different way, I think that takes a
So
lot.
is she really glad her mom died? Like, is she
Obviously
really
not. I mean, it's yes
okay?
and no. I think it's
Okay.
both. I'm
I think to be
glad that I
free of that toxicity, but of
yes.
course we all want our moms. You know
No,
what I mean? I think the
yes.
idea that there's that longing for that, like, oh, you
That
know
perfect
what?
mommy.
Ooh, I'm gonna take it back
Take
to
it.
Bojack Horseman.
Oh, I don't watch that, but take it back.
There's an episode called, oh, what was it? I think it was ICU. Maybe it wasn't
Okay.
even called that, but that was a big part of it. And Bojack is doing the eulogy for his mother, and it was the same thing, just a very abusive. Just never got a loving word from his mom ever in his life.
Wow.
And he was saying, it's like, my mom is dead, and everything is worse now because it's the relationship's never going to get better. And so, even though you have
Wow.
sort of like the relief that this tormentor in your life is gone, also the hope that it was going to get better is also gone.
Mm.
Because I think every child who has I think every person who has a toxic relationship, I've been in, well, not with my, parents per se, but I've been in toxic relationships, and there is that hope that it's going to get better one day. That's why people stay in those relationships, because it's like, I really believe that if da 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 happens,
There you go.
then like, I'm sure for Jeanette, it was this thing, if I do what my mom wants, like if I
That's
save
it.
this small little pet, eventually one day she'll be happy.
That's what she was going
And
for at all times. I just want her to
yeah,
be happy. I just want her to be
just
happy. She studied her mom. That was wild. She was like, I
mhm.
could tell by the way she smiled or moved or how her lip curled up, like what kind of mood she was gonna be in, what to say, what not to say. And she'd be like, I don't know why they don't know. We do this all the time. Like and this is probably why she's a fantastic actress, regardless of
Right.
how she felt about acting, because when you study people like that, that is a skill. Like when you can
Mhm.
anticipate, and kinda, like, tap into, human emotion like that. I mean, I think that's probably why she was really good at what she did
And
because
anger, because she probably had because the Sam character was very angry.
yeah,
And so I think that might have been, I don't know, and I think that's why I enjoyed
maybe.
that character so much, because I'm not like super in touch with my anger. But watching
Mm,
this tiny little angry child was just always very enjoyable.
really?
Like,
You're not in touch with your anger? Let me help you with that. No, I'm just playing. I'm trying to get away from mine, actually.
I'm not. And but it's there, of course, but
Like, lying dormant?
I don't, it's one of those things where I don't think I'm allowed anger. Or even when do get
Oh.
angry, people are kind of like, you need to calm down. That's not very attractive. So it's
So it's like, that makes me more mad hearing that. I'm like, "Oh, so you're just putting gasoline on it?"
yeah.
Well,
I'm glad we
okay.
got that on tape. That face was great. You
The
guys missed it,
fuck?
but it was just like, it's like,
Uh-uh.
okay, here's
Hold
some
on.
anger. But yeah, I think
Okay.
thank you for running that down for me. I'm still gonna read the book at some point,
Yeah,
but
definitely, because it
that's
was
pretty
really
much,
good.
everything was pretty much what I expected. I did not call the fact that her dad wasn't her biological father.
That was
But
wild, yeah.
that to me, I mean, even though it's like, ooh, tea, but it's not like that shocking.
And showed up with the mama's friend too, like, "Damn, nigga, you can, found nobody else?" But, proximity and all, because who wants to really try?
Shh. I mean, I do. There's so many people in the world. Like, you don't have to me, that would be so weird.
People are so
L
lazy.
That's true. That's
It's
true.
like, you know
That's
what?
true. It's like scamming you.
Right, that's why you're at funerals with the roast and the casserole all up in old boy's face because his wife just died. You've been waiting for your chance. Susan's finally out, guys. I can get on in there. He's gonna really love me. I showed up with, it's like, girl, go
This
sit
is
down
so
somewhere.
random because, of course, it's like life goes on. There's fewer men, right? Because men die
Oh God.
sooner. And so women are in competition for the men.
Oh my
So, like, you
God.
do all this cooking and stuff like that. Because I was just talking about
Mm.
how, like, my uncle, like, he doesn't really have anything going for him, but he's never lonely. Because, like, at his age group, he still has all his hair, all his teeth, and he won't hit you. So he's just like, it's he's got
Wow.
his pick.
The bar is
And then
low.
I remember
Mm,
so
mm,
many
mm, mm.
great lines from 30 Rock. There was this old woman on there talking to Tracy Jordan, and she was like, it's like at a nursing home or whatever. And she's like, "We're all sleeping with Carl because he has all the puzzles." It's like
First of all, giving it up for puzzles.
the game is the
Wow.
game.
I
Carl was
just
like,
hope
"Bitches
it never
love
gets to
puzzles."
that. Yeah, I mean, I got puzzles under my bed as we speak right now, but I'm hoping I never get to the point where I'm getting busted down for puzzles. Like that's
It
where I
might
draw the
come to
line.
that though. You
Hell
know what I'm
no.
saying?
Listen
Like,
here. I pray. Listen, I'm gonna do everything no
but yeah, I think the so what would you rate the
for
book?
puzzles. I'm
For
sorry, I
puzzles,
can't.
yeah. We're all she was earnest too. She's like, "We're all sleeping," 'cause nobody even asked her. She was just there to deliver a pie,
Uh,
and she was like, "Yeah,
uh,
shit." Yeah. I was like, "Yeah, that's
uh,
real." 'Cause
that's
and
so
listen,
gross.
I spent a lot of time at a, not a nurse, but, like, a
Assisted
facility, and it's
living,
mostly
sure.
women.
Yeah.
There's a couple dudes, but it's mostly women.
Ugh, gross. And the men, they still, I mean, and just, sidebar, they never lose that, like, I wanna show you my junk thing because
No.
I work in a hospital and you cannot imagine how many times I've seen an old pair of dick and balls combo that nobody asked for, that nobody
I
wanted
am
to see, but
so
you sorry to
sorry.
hear that they want you to see, and they want you to see that I see you seeing that I see, and it's like, "You know what, sir? If you don't put that away, nobody cares about that.
So
Goodbye.
so it's just
Good
oh,
day, sir."
so that
They're
'cause then
like,
that
"Huh?
goes into,
Huh?
like, dick
Huh?
pics.
Huh?
It's like, why?
Wanna see a little?"
Why? I
Like, a
almost
little is right,
wish
sir, and no.
I felt that confident about my genitals, where I was
Ew.
just like, I almost wish I had
Every
that
time you say
pride instead
genitals.
of a deep shame of, "Let me cover this up. Let's
D
turn down the lights," instead of just being like, "Here's a picture of it forever."
Ah! Here's a picture of it. Forever. Oh
Forever
god.
for you.
Oh,
Like like
for you.
I mean,
Oh
just the
god,
idea
no.
of it of like,
Ugh.
wow. Did you
Absolutely not. I'm
bless her
sorry. We were
heart.
supposed to be rating the book, and then we
Yeah,
got
I'm
on to
sorry. Yeah,
genitals, you
yeah, yeah,
guys.
yeah.
That was Kat's fault for the
It
record.
was.
Even if it wasn't, it was. But okay, so if I had to rate this book, I'm giving it I really liked it. I mean, I'm easy, I feel like. I'm giving it 5 Nickelodeon awards or those Kids' Choice Awards.
Ooh,
I felt like it was really
yeah.
good because it was super honest. I felt like it could have been like I wouldn't have like it was to me as an audiobook goes 6 hours and 50 minutes. I mean, I would say average, like you think 7 or 8 hours. I wouldn't have been mad to hear more. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like
Okay.
that. Um yeah, but it was definitely very honest, and I felt like it was good. I liked it. I'm running out of words. Honest. It was honest, and I
Okay.
like honesty, so
All right. Well, I can't rate it because I'm the fakester who just showed up
yeah.
to book
And
club
she's
unprepared.
funny. She's funny. I
That's
love
what
that
I
dry
know.
humor too,
Mhm.
and, like, like, she had a couple of, like, little "dunch" in there, so, like, even though it's a lot of heavy stuff, I think that it had a nice sprinkling of, like, her humor and her
So
personality
what
in
does she
there.
do now?
So, it sounds like the book came from her one-woman show. I think that she wrote it right before the pandemic, and
Ah,
so but she was performing it and then ended up deciding to write, but that's what she was trying to figure out. She was trying to get into writing and
okay.
stuff, and dabbling with, acting and stuff a little, it looked like, but I think mostly stuff that she wrote that she's writing. So it seems like she's trying to transition into what she always kind of wanted to and didn't feel like she could when her mom was alive.
Okay, that's
The
cool.
writing part of it. So, and she's got a companion podcast. Lord, and I had that in my
Oh,
notes. Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, she has a podcast.
okay.
And yeah, it sounds like she's just living her life, man, figuring out her whole what she wants to do moving forward. And so
Get that.
I can appreciate that. Oh my goodness, why can't I can't one hand and do this with
That's
my
okay. You don't
phone.
have to. Why don't we take a break?
I want to know. Okay, I'll tell you guys when we get back. Okay.
All right.
Break, guys. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back from the break. Welcome back, you
I
guys.
am so relaxed. I like sunk down. Sit back up.
She's disappearing, you guys. She's
I
melting. She's
am.
melting.
Oh
It is
man.
late, friend, and so
It
you
might be
know
one of those
what?
nights where I just fall asleep right here.
Listen, I respect it.
You shouldn't. It's not respectful.
But you're following your heart, friend, and that's important too. So you gotta go with it sometimes.
My heart's pretty dumb. I need to follow my brain.
That's true. Well, I'm around. It's cool. Just
Okay.
you have to ask me or I won't say anything.
Okay.
I'm
Like,
trying
what-
not to get into unsolicited advice. I'm trying
What
to get
should
away from
I
that.
do?
Yeah, it's like, well, now that you asked.
It's like brush your teeth.
Yeah, definitely do that. We talked about that last episode. But you guys, I think we probably need to do before we spin the wheel, friends. Oh, let me tell the people. Wait, so because I was trying to come up with Jeanette McCurdy. Well, we were talking about what she's doing.
Oh
And she has a
yeah.
podcast. So she hosts a podcast called Empty Inside. And it says she's spoken about her horrible experience with past roles, including when she played Sam on iCarly. Yeah, there's that. And so let's go to. Okay, so guys, we're going to do Stranger Than Fiction real quick. Okay. I wanted to talk about what made me think about this Stranger Than Fiction story, Kat, was because we mentioned that she grew up Mormon, right? And so I don't personally know a bunch about them except for they wear weird underwear, air quotes special underwear, right? Am I
Yeah.
getting them right?
Magic. It's
I
magic underwear.
magic
Undergarments. It's undergarments because they're actually pretty big.
bloomers or whatever. I don't
Because it's
know.
like a whole thing. Like it's like a one
It has
piece thing.
buckles and shit on it.
Not buckles. It's like a
Oh.
lightweight white cotton kind of dealy or whatever.
Don't get me
But
lying. Okay.
yeah.
But LDS, the LDS church, I've heard of them before. I picture, so if I just like don't know anything about them, I'm picturing a bunch of white people in the mountains of America places or in the plains who, and I mean, this is totally stereotypical. This is me not knowing. There's no black people there. Let's be for real. Probably like marrying their third cousins and shit. And religion is the center point of their lives. So they're all sexually repressed and just kind of inbred. I don't know. I hope I'm not offending nobody. I'm just saying, like, this is totally, totally stereotypical.
I think a Big Love, like from the HBO show. So like there's of course like the normal ones, and then there are the ones that live on the compounds that wear the prairie dresses and
Those
do
are the ones I picture. So,
and then
so sorry to the ones that are regular.
and then
guys.
like here where we live, the ones I think of are like the dudes who wear those white shirts with the skinny black ties
And
and
the
on the
backpacks.
bicycles and the backpacks, like the that are
Is that
trying
who
to
they are?
yeah, that's the Mormons.
Those are LDSs.
Yeah, those are yeah. So there's so
Cool.
much going on there, but
Interesting.
but I'm sorry, the Stranger Than Fiction though, go.
So I'm bringing all this up because basically I had heard one time that of course they have a lot of really strict rules around sex and stuff like that, premarital sex and all that. And so I found an article one time that was called Jump Humping and Soaking: How Mormon Teens Are Getting Around Their Religious Premarital Sex Rules. I'm going to read this little part here. It just says, although the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints doctrine says that sex is an important part of the bond building and procreation for a married couple, is forbidden by church members who aren't married. So petting and passionate kissing, all of that stuff, and not supposed to do any of that stuff. So the workaround is that these kids, okay, are doing what's called soaking. So it's when So it says the practice of soaking involves a man inserting his penis into his partner's vagina. However, instead of thrusting as one does, the man just lets his penis, air quotes, soak in there. Okay. Some other terms.
That's obviously less sinful.
Yo, if the penis is in the vagina, isn't that the I mean, I'm lost here, guys. Like, I mean, they also call it parking.
Also another thing that's prohibited is masturbation. Masturbation is also like a big no-no. So there's a ton of sexual repression. If you can believe it, it also is a lot of abuse.
I can believe it,
If you can
actually.
even believe it. I
Sexual
don't know if
repression does lead to that, I feel like. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? That tends to kind of it's like the perfect soil to,
Mhm.
kind of grow that sort of a thing. And it's really, really I mean, it's just messed up because it's a natural thing. Like sex is such a natural thing. And to feel so much shame or like I mean, clearly if you're going through this takes put just let me put the head in for like the
Yeah,
tip
just
in
a
like
tip.
to a whole new level. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So they're calling it parking, marinating, uh, dock and talk. Okay. So there's like all these, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so this is the one that took me out though, right? So you have the soaking, but jump humping is like so it is soaking. So okay, the penis is in the vagina, guys. Picture this, okay? And then they recruit a friend to come and like just jump on the bed right next to them.
You'd have to be a really good friend. Would you do that for me, friend?
I want to throw this microphone at you.
If I I'm trying to think of how that conversation goes down because I feel like there's no other way. This is like technically a three-way because
That's
you would just be like,
exactly what
I
this is.
mean, yeah, like I'm trying to think of like a situation. I'll be like, hey, I'm like, I like this boy and I want to get to know him better.
So
And
I'd like to have his penis soaking in my vagina while you jump on the bed beside us.
and it
What are you
that
doing Friday?
and that way God won't be mad at us.
Yeah, because the reasoning is that the couple themselves aren't thrusting.
But they still
Technically. Because God will never figure out, you know what I'm saying? Like you've like pulled the wool over the
and then
omnipotent
Mormon's
God's.
God gonna be like, they got me. Heavenly
You're
Father
right.
can't do anything this
You're
time.
right. I didn't say you couldn't stick it in and then have somebody jump on the bed. You're right. It's
Can
just
I
that's
also
so
say, like,
weird.
another super thing, and like this plays into the guilt thing, is it's very common practice that you have to do a confessional with your bishop. Like, as a young kid, like, without your parents' supervision, like, you have to tell them, like, all of your indiscretions. And
Wow.
it's super when you talk to people who used to be a part of it and come out of it, it's not exactly like Scientology, but there's similar vibes because everything's about control. Like, that's
Right.
ultimately what everything comes down to. So, um, yeah, man. And also too, I don't feel bad either because like I said, they for the longest time, they weren't worried about offending black people when they were like, "Oh, y'all ain't really
You
like
guys were
people for real,
destined to be
to be
right,
slaves."
slaves,
So, and God
actually.
didn't change his mind about that until like right around the civil rights movement. So it
Wow,
was
ain't
nice
that
that Mormon
something?
guy
Dun, dun, dun,
got on
dun.
board with,
Right.
"Oh, blacks are people now."
Yeah,
It's
I was reading something about that too, just, the
that
kinda
was
history
actually
of
in
Black
book.
folks
Have you
here.
ever heard the soundtrack from Book of Mormon?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's a wild one because it's from
Really?
the creators of South Park.
Oh god, no, I well, then, yeah, it's actually yeah, I'm sure it's extra nuts.
Yeah, and they
Very
have a
wild.
song called "I Believe," and they, like, go through all like, a lot of the doctrines of, like, what's in
Oh,
Mormonism,
shit, that's
and it's like,
embarrassing.
because I think if I can remember, it's like, "I believe that God's got a plan for all of us, and I believe when I die, I'm getting my own planet, and I believe that in 1978, God changed his mind about black people. Black people!" And it's like, "You can be a Mormon."
Wait.
And a Mormon just believes. Oh my goodness, that's that it was
So just
before Hamilton.
send that to me,
I'll
and then
send it
I'll
to
try to
Jack.
you guys listen, I feel like a lot of the I try to put the stuff in the notes that we talk about,
Yeah.
and sometimes I miss stuff, but this one I feel like needs to be in here because I
Oh,
actually
there's
wanna see this
that
myself
one's a
too.
it's a
That
while, but you
sounds
know
crazy
what?
as
The
hell.
Mormons had a good sense of humor about it. They actually bought advertising space in the playbill
Oh,
for
are
the
you
Book of Mormon.
serious?
Yeah, they were like, "Hey,
Okay. It's
Free
like, that is
promo.
right, we did though. That was
We
crazy. That
did.
was
We
crazy. That
did.
was
It's
crazy.
cool though.
You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
they also they also are in trouble with the IRS because they have like all these like $1 billion slush funds that are supposed to be for charities, but they're
What the
like
hell a
like
slush fund?
like basically because they're operate as a religious non-for-profit, right?
Uh-huh,
You're
uh-huh.
not supposed to have businesses, like for profit businesses operating under them. So like they have like malls and properties that they're saying are under the church for charity properties, but they're really for profit. Like it's
Obviously.
like
And this is not
one of the wealth management services they were using blew the whistle on them. There's like, wait, this
right. And
isn't
as they
like
should, because that's the thing. I mean, and I wouldn't even say this is probably ain't even specific to just
no,
church of
not just
latter.
them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a thing that I think does happen. And so that's
Yeah.
not super shocking, but it's
No,
also really fucked up because
it
y'all are
is.
so holy and y'all got these kids out here, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause like my thing is you not even using contraceptives and doing this, bitch, you can still get pregnant. Soaking. You have this
Yeah.
nigga soaking his dick in your vagina?
You'd
Ma'am,
never believe this
are you
either. They
kidding
are
me?
very anti-abortion.
Oh, I'm sure they are. And then you got
So
these kids out here all backwards and shit, don't know how science works, and you have them sneaking doing this stuff with it's just
it's an
it's insane.
insanity. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. So
Well,
to me,
it makes dollars and cents actually.
it literally does, but it does not in my mind. So I cannot get with this.
Yeah,
And
I'm
so
with you. That's stranger than fiction. I would
definitely
not put
stranger
that
than
in my book
fiction.
because I'm like, that's weird
That shit is really, really wild. And I mean, I wonder if that's why she had like a really weird sort of
relationship
with
yeah.
her own sexuality. You know what I'm saying? She finally got into it though when she met this guy. She went to Canada to record it was some project that she was going to work on, and this guy, and they ended up being in a relationship. And she was like, man, the first time we had sex, I was like, she said she cried, and he was like, what's wrong? She was like, this is how sex is supposed to this is how it was supposed to be all this time. Like, I had no
Yeah.
idea. Like, that's so fucked up that a lot of women I want to well, I mean, maybe there are
People.
men out there who don't.
Yeah.
People out there who literally never have enjoyed their own bodies or know what good sex is or what
Honestly,
it
I
feels
feel
like to
like
be
I'm
pleasured. That
just
shit is
now kind of
wild.
getting there, like being able to enjoy sex without guilt. Like
Damn.
there's always that kind of it's very
Even
hard
when
when
you're
it's
married?
indoctrinated. Yeah. Even when you're like when you get indoctrinated like at an early age
Mm.
about it and stuff like that, it's very, very I'm in therapy. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, and I mean, so I wish that for everybody at some point. Like, damn, like I get it can take some time, but
Yeah.
I'm just glad it was nice because I was like, that's good because that's. But then here's the thing: when you have that situation, right? Sometimes it's like when you finally do have some good sex, now you don't know how to fucking act.
That
Now
part.
you're willing to stay around and put up with a bunch of bullshit because somebody done, gave
Put
you
it
that
on
good
you.
thing one time. Yeah, and it's like, yo, it's not worth all that
And
now.
it
Like, don't
feels
get me
bad
wrong.
too because it's like, well, this is like, because what does that say about me that I had this experience with someone and like I don't want to be with them forever? Like you can really,
Mm. Oh
so that's
God.
why to me, when I started learning about Mormonism, I was like, there's a lot of parallels here.
Yeah.
With like the evangelical kind of background I had growing up, and even to the point too, because you called it like a lot of times people don't realize Mormons and LDS that's the same thing. They
Mhm.
rebranded. It's always a good sign of your organization when you have to change your name. To the Church of Latter-day Saints. That's the
Mhm.
Mormons, and the Book of
Yeah.
Mormon is in
It's
its creation
wild.
very wild.
Mm. That was Stranger Than Fiction to me, you guys. I'm gonna put that article in the show notes too, so you guys can read up on that if you've never heard of it. Yo, leave me a comment. Let me know I'm interested. Maybe y'all got some more little tidbits about how the Mormons get down. I don't know, but that
White
shit is
and
wild.
delightsome.
I just
Whenever I think of Mormons, white and delightsome.
Oh my God, I just saw that
'Cause that
on
was
their wiki.
what that they took that out of the Book of Mormon. They said like that was something that God because that's what black skin was supposed to be a curse. So he's like, God's righteous people are white and delightsome.
Oh my God. Yeah, just and maybe I'll just put like black people in Mormonism. There's like a
Yeah,
Wikipedia page. I'll put that in there
yeah.
for you guys. You're welcome. You can read up
It's
on
not
that.
the and actually, it's a very important part of American history. They also have a very
Yeah.
contentious relationship with Native Americans because that land they
Oh.
settled on, you'd never believe it. There are some people there.
hate it here. Why is that always the story? Golly.
You know.
Anyway, you guys,
Anyway.
that is Stranger Than Fiction. I'm going to let you go with that one, but let's just spin the wheel one time for the one time before we get out of
Mhm.
here. And spin
Yeah.
it! I've been wanting to read this, friend. Viola Davis, Finding Me.
Oh, I've been
Hello?
looking for me.
I'm ready for this. This should be a good book. She is super talented and beautiful. She's got some new projects coming out. I know she has a movie like the
The Amazon warrior
the Queen
thing.
Warrior, the something warrior. You
Yeah.
guys, you do not come to us for exact quotes. Please don't do that.
It's
Okay.
Fake Ass Book
It's
Club.
11:30 at night most of the time when we are recording this. And okay,
All my energy went towards not being a terrible mom today.
tried my best. Okay. Or, and right, you got to feed the children and whoever else comes around. So, yeah, I'm excited to read this book, you guys. I like a good memoir. Can't wait to dig into her personal life and be all up in her business one time.
Hmm.
And hopefully you guys come back and join us for this. So, I guess that's it, man.
I like that. We're gonna do 2 Hollywood memoirs in a row.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good stuff, you
Yeah.
guys. See, we're
Yeah.
trying not to be so fake. We're trying here. Sort of.
It's all we can do.
That's all we can do. This is all I've got. We gave it all right here, guys. And so with that, we're going to leave you and hopefully you come back and see us next week
Your body belongs to you.
and do stuff you like as much as you
Yeah.
can. All right. Peace,
Peace.
guys.
Before we go, we must give thanks to Urban Nerd for providing our music.
Buzz Viral Marketing runs our social media.
And legal services were handled by Trezanae M. Atkins.
If you like what you heard,
Please feel free to join us every Wednesday for another Fake Ass Book Club.
cheers. Thank you guys for listening. You can check us out at thefabpodcast.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you're listening right now. We want to hear from you. Come put it in our life. Thanks again. And until next time, peace, love, and the Fake Ass Book Club. We out.